What's up guys, HyperShadow46 here. Let's get right back into the what if. For context, go watch the previous video before watching this one, and without further ado, I hope you enjoy, and let's get right back into it. After the events of the Cell games, it would take a year before the Dragon Balls could be used to push back Sonic and Knuckles. In that year, a few things would happen. For starters, due to the Hyper Transformation, the Chaos Emeralds would do something they haven't done before. Once the three Hyperform beings reverted back to normal, the Super Emeralds would revert back to their Chaos counterparts and scatter. However, we need to also address the elephant, or rather, future elephants in the room before anything else. With Cell now seemingly gone for good, Trunks and Silver would head back to the future. With their newly acquired strength and determination, they will fix the future and rid the world of the androids and Metal Sonic. Once back, they would inform Bulma and the rest of what happened before hearing about an android attack. Before Shadow or Gohan could offer to go take care of things, the time travelers already left. On their way to take care of business, Silver said he'll take care of 18 while Trunks handles 17. With the game plan, the boys land and instantly begin wailing on the androids. Well, more so Trunks than Silver. Trunks is having a comfortable time handling 17, but Silver can't seem to transform into his hyper form. 18 very easily begins tossing him around, mocking and belittling him while she does, telling him that he'll always be nothing, and that even if she dies, Silver will always be a weak little nobody who had to rely on everyone to bail him out of his problems. When she would throw a punch at him to knock him away, Silver would instead grab her fist and began squeezing. She would try to throw another punch, but he would catch her second fist and began squeezing tighter, slowly crushing her hands. Trunks would be finishing off 17 with his signature burning attack before watching Silver. 18 would watch as Silver's arm and leg cuffs would shatter off his body, causing his power to surge. His fur turned to jet black, and his pupils seemingly disappeared. Silver would yell at her that he isn't weak or a nobody, that he is hope for the future, and he would prove it here and now. He would yank her in and headbutt her, send her flying into a building. When 18 would recover, she would see car after car after car thrown at her before having the building dropped on her. Silver would then lift the building off and slam it on her repeatedly, then give her a chance to get up. Once given the chance, 18 would rush in Silver only to be grabbed by his psychokinesis and held in place. Silver would crush her and bring her close to him. He would tell her it's no use before holding his other hand out to her and finish her off with a new technique he had been working on that he would call his Chaos Lance. 18 would feel multiple beams of ki shred her body down to nothing. Once the job was done, Silver would use his psychic power to put his cuffs back together. Then Trunks would question Silver on what that was. Even Silver wouldn't know, but he just felt nothing but pure rage. Either way, their job wasn't done yet. Returning back home, the boys would inform everyone on what happened and also inform them about Cell, and that while they don't know much about him, they need to keep on their guard. Next up was Metal Sonic. Getting Amy, Shadow, and Gohan, they managed to find Metal Sonic capturing what looked to be regular woodland animals. No one understood why, but it didn't matter. Once he saw them, he immediately flew to fight. With the combined efforts of Super Saiyan Gohan, Super Chaos Shadow, Super Amy, Super Saiyan Trunks, and Dark Super Silver, Metal Sonic would be reduced to scraps. As an added bit of insurance, Silver would crush any and all parts of Metal to ensure he couldn't be repaired. After their victory, the five would head home and recuperate, with Amy commenting that she didn't know Silver had a dark form. Silver would also comment that he didn't know he had one either, or that his cuffs functioned like Shadow's inhibitor rings. Shadow would also comment that neither he or Amy had dark forms, but Sonic did. Once they were back at Capsule Corp, they would take a moment to celebrate finally taking care of Metal and the androids, while also mourning their fallen comrades. Sometime later, Trunks and Silver are about to head back to the future but can sense him. Cell is near, and they tell everyone to wait inside Capsule Corp for a moment. When questioned, they can see the look on the boys' faces. They know something is near, but they won't fess up. Trunks said they'll explain later, but for now, they need Gohan and the rest inside. Once everyone but them clear out, they confront Cell, who's hiding nearby, and proceed to mop the floor with him. With a combined Super Kamehameha, they very easily dispatch Cell, finally saving the future once and for all. Back in the present day, a few months would pass with everyone wondering what to do now. At the current moment, the Dragon Balls are still scattered, not to mention aren't ready. And the Emeralds have just scattered as well, which isn't something they've done before. Goku suggests they train and hunt down the Dragon Balls in the meantime so they can use them once they're ready. But now the issue is that while the Dragon Balls are dormant, they can't be picked up on radar, so while they are out of the picture, the Emeralds are a different story. In the afterlife, Sonic and Knuckles are making their way to King Kai's planet at the request of Kami. Once they get there, they manage to stomach his jokes as well as his techniques. Knuckles learns the Spirit Bomb as well as the Kaioken, and Sonic helps Knuckles achieve the Super Form. Also, while down there, they get to talk as Sonic recounts Knuckles' final words. While Knuckles isn't too keen on recounting his own mortality, he does comment that he saw a lot of himself in Gohan. Back when they first started training years ago, there was doubt that Knuckles had in himself, not just as the future guardian of the Master Emerald, but as an echidna warrior. He is the last of his own race and doesn't even know where to start as far as how he should conduct himself. Is he doing his job right? Can he even do better, and if so, how? He would comment that he used to envy Sonic, Goku, and Krillin. They were free spirits who loved to fight. They got stronger for themselves and just to be able to keep up with one another, while he was an echidna who had to get stronger just to protect what is essentially a giant rock. Sonic will give Knuckles a playful punch in the shoulder and comment that he knows how he feels. He grew up with Goku, and even though he's strong, Goku is leagues above him. There were times where he felt doubt in himself or had fear that he would have gotten left behind in terms of power. In fact, it's one of the reasons he assisted Krillin in training after the tournament and before Raditz showed up, and why he wanted Krillin to become good with using the emeralds so he wouldn't get left behind. Ever since finding out Goku is a Saiyan and that he has a whole well of untapped power, Sonic has been pushing himself a lot more than before. Now there's Shadow, Vegeta, even Amy is starting to catch up. He will tell Knuckles that he's actually happy because of this. Truth be told, they could have gone forever without ever finding out, which more likely would have led up to them causing the slack on their training, inevitably. But now, this changes things. With Goku, his brother, and Vegeta showing feats of power, as well as Shadow becoming more adept with removing his inhibitions, and Amy still continuing to push herself as per the request of Sonic telling her to keep up with her training, they would relish in this moment before Sonic would challenge Knuckles to an all-out match, seeing as they never got to when they were younger. Knuckles would happily knock the cheeky attitude out of Sonic. While everyone waits for the Dragon Balls to be ready, a few things happen. Goku and Gohan keep up with their training. Seeing as Gohan doesn't want there to be another instance where he loses those close to him, he manages to find a balance of school and training that even satisfies Chi-Chi for the time being. Even Raditz joins in and manages to achieve Super Saiyan, and can even keep up with Goku, which gets the attention of Vegeta. Amy trains with Shadow from time to time, unlocking her super form. However, she isn't able to call onto the hyper form again, and neither is Gohan. I also forgot to mention, as a quick little side note, I forgot to mention that Trunks was conceived and born during the whole Cell arc, so he's here. I just forgot to mention him. Just another instance of Shattuck forgot. So, anyways, also, because Goku isn't dead here, Goten is conceived a lot earlier than in canon. At Capsule Corp, Gerald, with the aid of Dr. Briefs, Bulma, and Tails, are creating Project Shadow 2.0. However, they decided that if this new Project Shadow isn't going to be just another Shadow, they should call it something else. Bulma would offer the name Silver, seeing as though he was one of the people who helped defeat Cell, and while she personally never got the chance to meet him, she would like to pay homage to a fighter who helped to protect the world. Gerald would think it over and agree, with Tails and Dr. Briefs not disagreeing. With the DNA of Shadow, Sonic, and Amy, the latter two willingly giving it while they were both still alive at one point, the work on Project Silver would commence. Back at Jiro's secret lab, or I guess I should call it Eggman's secret lab since Neo Metal Sonic kind of 86'd him. Anyways, either way, seeing as though news of Sonic and Knuckles' death has gotten to him, now is the time for him to conduct Phase 2 of his master plan. He would send out multiple robots to start causing trouble across the world. Kami would alert the Z-Fighters, and they would proceed to go after the robots. With them scattering across the world, Eggman would send out Neo Metal Sonic to search for the Chaos Emerald, to which Metal would inform him of the Master Emerald, to which Eggman would send him out to retreat. Neo Metal Sonic would oblige the Doctor's orders, and head towards Angel Island in search of the giant gemstone. Kami would detect the incoming robot, and warn everyone on what is happening. Goku would instant transmit back to the lookout, only to find Metal Sonic holding the Master Emerald. He would engage Neo Metal Sonic, who would struggle against Super Saiyan 2 Goku. Goku would very easily start tossing Metal Sonic around like a ragdoll, before getting blindsided by another Metal Sonic. With Neo Metal Sonic holding off Goku, the second would pick up the Master Emerald and fly off with it, prompting Goku to shoot multiple ki blasts at him. Neo Metal Sonic, taking a moment to capitalize on Goku switching targets, would kick him up, then appear before him, and slamming him into the ground. Goku would slowly get up and fly after the two robots who already had a good head start on him. Back on King Kai's planet, King Kai would inform Sonic and Knuckles of the Sonic's Master Emerald heist, and that Goku's trying his best to chase them down. When asked where the other Z-Fighters were, King Kai informed them that all of them are around the different parts of the world. That just before the Master Emerald got nabbed, random robot attacks started cropping up out of nowhere. Knuckles would panic, saying that they have to get back to Earth. Sonic would offer to use instant transmission, but King Kai would suggest against it, saying that if they die again with their halos, they'll be gone for good. Sonic would say that's just a risk they have to take, and they can't afford to let Metal Sonic take it to who knows where. Not to mention, Knuckles would add that if they don't get the Master Emerald back to Angel Island in time, it'll crash into the ocean. With that, Sonic would grab Knuckles and use instant transmission to get to Goku. Once they were back, they would fly at the Metal Sonics. Neo Metal Sonic would notice and stop to fight, allowing the other Metal to escape with the Emerald. When neither Sonic or Knuckles would attempt to go after it, Neo Metal would appear in front of them and knock them away. They watched as Neo began flashing yellow before donning his own super form, chuckling while he did. Sonic and Knuckles powered up to their own respective super forms and began launching at him in a homing attack. With quick calculating, Metal Sonic caught both of them and held them in place while they were spinning. Seeing a clear opening, Goku charged a Kamehameha and fired it at Neo Metal Sonic, who threw both Sonic and Knuckles at it. They shot through the Kamehameha and slammed Goku in both the chest and face. Super Neo Metal Sonic taunted them to come at him with full power, to which they did. When Metal Sonic got back to the lab with the Master Emerald, Eggman let out a cackle and quickly hooked up Metal Sonic into a tube similar to Cell's incubator before attaching the Master Emerald to a machine as well. There, numerous data began pouring into Metal Sonic. Eggman would watch with glee before hooking a wire and a tube from the sub-lab to a new pod he had and contacting Neo Metal Sonic to pull back. Back at the scuffle, Neo Metal Sonic will get the message and disengage from his combatants, with them giving chase. He activated cloaking and vanished from their sight. Seeing as he's a robot, they can't detect him. After a few hours, Z Fighters gathered at Kame House trying to figure out what to do. That's when there's a worldwide broadcast. There, Dr. Eggman would introduce himself and the Eggman Empire. He would explain that he has an ultimate weapon and that in 3 days, he would use it to conquer the world. If no one wants to get hurt, they should willingly surrender to him and join the Empire. The broadcast ends with a timer ticking down from 72 hours. Everyone would gather their thoughts and figure out a game plan. Shadow would notice the halos over Sonic and Knuckles. They would inform everyone that while they are both here, they are, by all accounts, still dead, and that if they were to die again, they would cease to exist. They will try to help as best they can, but they would be putting their existence at risk. Putting it to a vote, most would tell them to head back to Otherworld. Once they can wish for their life again, then and only then can they come back to help. Just right now, they shouldn't be risking it this much. Sonic would nod and wish everyone good luck before he and Knuckles instant transmit to King Kai's planet. Afterward, Shadow suggests they start looking for where Eggman could be located. If they can use the Emerald Radar to find the Master Emerald, they could potentially find Eggman. Heading to Capsule Corp, they talk to Bulma and Gerald. Here they find out that Eggman's true identity is Ivo Robotnik, his grandson. He asks that if they manage to get to him, they could give him a second chance like they gave him. While Vegeta is against sparing Ivo, seeing as he's more trouble than he's worth, the rest would consider it, seeing as Vegeta and Shadow were once evil but they chilled out. Tails would inform the group that there have been signs of emerald activity from a few islands from off the coast, from a city a few miles out, an amusement park, a canyon to the far west, a faraway forest to the east, and an old abandoned castle, but the last emerald for some reason isn't coming up on radar. Without wasting time, Goku would head out toward the islands, Raditz would take the city, Gohan to the canyon, Amy to the amusement park, Vegeta to the forest, and Shadow to the old castle. Tails and Bulma would hand everyone new radars to aid them before they all left. Krillin and Tien would opt to be on standby so they can go after the last emerald signature once it pops up. This will take place over the course of 3 days with Z Fighters traveling to their locations and back. Starting off with Amy, she would be one of the first taking off from Capsule Corp. Using a radar, she would see that she was fairly close to the energy signature, but when she would check around, she would only see Metal Sonic, but this one seemed different. Not only was this one shorter, this one seemed weaker than the one she and Sonic had faced before. However, he wasn't alone. Before Amy would notice, she was surrounded by more and more robots, and they all swarmed her within seconds, causing her to resort to using the Kaioken to fend them off. What's weird, she noticed that the Metal Sonic didn't take this time to jump in or run away. He just stood there and watched the whole fight. Once she dispatched the other robots, she wasted no time going head-to-head with the Metal Sonic unit. Even without Super Hedgehog, he was a total pushover. She very easily dispatched him and managed to get her hand on the Yellow Chaos Emerald. Once she made sure there weren't any more robots, she flew off back towards Capsule Corp. Switching over to Gohan, he was having a relatively difficult time finding the Emerald signature in the canyon. What's weird is the Emerald seemed to be moving around. Every time he started to close in on its location, it would begin moving at a high rate of speed away from him. Once Gohan spotted where the Emerald was, he closed in on its location. There, he saw what looked to be a large yellow blimp flying away with a bunch of robots and... Wait, is that Eggman on it too? Gohan turned Super Saiyan and beelined it for the blimp, with Eggman taking notice. Eggman would ready his robots for battle as Gohan flew in. He would deflect and knock away any shot that came his way. Eggman, panicking, would use the power of the Emerald to further enhance his troops and airship. Gohan would charge up a Kamehameha and fire it off, taking out the airship and its shield, prompting Eggman to flee on a secondary vessel, the Egg Hog. There would be charged energy beams and ki blasts fired back and forth, but it would end the same as it did for Amy. Gohan would take out the Egg Hog and send it crashing to the ground. Gohan would retrieve the clear Chaos Emerald and check to see if Eggman was alright, only to find a spring sticking out of his body and his head bouncing on it. There would be the sound of a recording telling son Gohan that he was fooled, and that neither he or his friends are closer to figuring out the location of Eggman or his ultimate weapon. Gohan would look shocked, then quickly fly back to Capsule Corp. Once he was gone, the fake Eggman would melt into a puddle of metal before reforming into Neo Metal Sonic, stating that all son Gohan data has been copied. Changing over to Raditz, who's flying through the city, the radar started beeping that he was getting closer to where the Emerald signature was. The radar brought him to a large power plant, to which he blasted a hole into it and entered, which set the whole place on red alert. Multiple robots and Bagniks attempted to attack him and take him down, but with the aid of his recently acquired Super Saiyan form, these pitiful machines were nothing to him. Moving more and more through the planet, Raditz noticed the Emerald moving toward him until it was right on top of him. Looking around, Raditz was kneed in the gut and dragged upward through the ceiling of the plant and thrown on the roof. When seeing what hit him, he looked shocked to see a robotic copy of Goku standing and smirking. Raditz would glare before smirking himself. Yes, this is a definite insult to Saiyans. However, if this thing is supposed to fight and act like Kakarot, then this will be easy. Raditz already knows how his brother fights, and also takes in the implications of beating this thing. If it's a one-for-one copy of Goku, then by beating it, he's proving he can beat his brother. Raditz would assume his fighting stance and rush at the Metal Goku. Both would lock hands and try to overpower and push the other. Metal Goku would headbutt Raditz, who would only growl in anger, then pull in the Metal Goku and knee him in the gut before blasting him away. The Metal Goku would stand, simulate cracking his neck, then rush back at Raditz. Raditz would let out a laugh and begin trading blows with the robot. However, he would start getting pushed back. The robot was harnessing the power of the Emerald inside it, and Raditz needed to figure out a plan, and fast. He was starting to go for gut punches and gut kicks, to which the Metal Goku would mock him, stating that he has no internal organs, so shots like that would do nothing to him. He would start to pummel Raditz around to the brink of exhaustion. Raditz would be grabbed by his hair and repeatedly punched in the face. With the last bit of strength he could muster, Raditz would catch the oncoming punch and glare at the machine, who was slightly surprised that Raditz had any bite left in him. Raditz would comment, "That's enough," before opening his hand at the robot's gut and blasting it out. With a quick reaction, Raditz would slam his fist in the robot and yank out the Chaos Emerald from within. The blue gem shone with power in his grasp, and he quickly used it to power himself back up to full. Metal Goku stumbled back as Raditz flew high up into the air and charged his energy. His hair began sparking, and he let out a yell of power as he had ascended to Super Saiyan 2. Holding both of his arms up and charging energy, Raditz would aim at the whole power plant and fire off his signature double Sunday, causing the whole thing to become a crater in the ground. With a sense of pride, Raditz would fly back to Capsule Corp. With Shadow heading to the castle, he noticed something off. For starters, there were actual ghosts haunting the castle. Not to mention, it seems that Eggman's robots already set up shop here. Wasting no time, Shadow started combing his way through the numerous robots who stood no chance. While fighting, he heard the sound of another fight happening. When he went to check to see the source of the second commotion, he found the other Shadow and a bat fighting off Eggman's forces with the aid of gun soldiers. When approached, both Shadows would notice each other and give a nod, signifying that they were on the same side. Once the main robots were cleared out, they would converse with each other for a moment. The other Shadow would inform his counterpart that he works for Gun now, and that he and Agent Rouge are sent to take out any and all of Eggman's troops. After the broadcast he put out, he's been branded a full terrorist like the Red Ribbon Army. He would go on to say as well that thanks to Gero going underground, 17 and 18 have been doing alright. 17 recently became a park ranger and is living his best life, while 18 has just kind of been around. He's trying to convince her to join Gun, but so far she's dodged the topic. As for him, he's keeping up with his training and trying his best not to be what both doctors wanted him to be. Shadow would nod and inform other Shadow that he's here because he detected the Chaos Energy signature, and that he, as well as the other Z Fighters, are gathering the Chaos Emeralds to take on Eggman, whatever his secret weapon is. Rouge and other Shadow would nod to each other before commanding the rest of their squad to hold position while they go with Shadow to retrieve the Chaos Emerald. Heading deeper into the castle, the three managed to find a large mansion. Once they entered, they became locked in. Carefully making their way through the mansion, they took time to converse amongst themselves. Rouge would ask Shadow if he and other Shadow were twins, to which Shadow would comment that while they were both the same project, they were handled by two different entities. He was created by the Black Arms and the Frieza Force, while other Shadow was created by the Black Arms and the Red Ribbon Army. While they talked, they heard the sound of cackling and quickly approached it. There, they saw what looked like Eggman in a flying pod with multiple robots waiting for them. Eggman would say that he was expecting Shadow to show up, but the other one too? This is too good of an opportunity. He would command his robots to attack the group while observing. Other Shadow would smirk to Rouge as they both would easily handle the machines while Shadow went after the robot with the Chaos Emerald. Eggman would let out a cackle as a big robot dropped from the sky, then inserted his pod in, allowing him to take full control. Both Shadows would look at each other and nod. Shadow powered up to a super form while other Shadow took off his inhibitor rings. They both flew around the robot, taking shots at its joints and hinges, causing it to start to malfunction. As a joint attack, Super Shadow would go into a spin dash, and other Shadow would begin kicking him at the giant mech. Wherever Super Shadow bounced off, other Shadow teleported to that spot and kicked him back at the robot until it was destroyed. Once they powered down, other Shadows saw the purple emerald and handed it to Shadow, who walked to the down Eggman pod, only to watch it eject a fake Eggman in front of him. It began mocking both Ultimate Life Forms on how it tricked them, and that they will never be able to stop him or his ultimate weapon. Shadow would thank his counterpart and Rouge for the assistance, and would comment that if they ever needed help, don't hesitate to call him or the Z-Fighters. Both Hedgehogs would nod at each other before Shadow would go flying off back to Capsule Corp. At the islands with Goku, it would take a while, but he would locate some of Eggman's forces and go on the immediate offensive, doing his best to take them out immediately. Once the island seemed clear of Eggman's troops, the radar would lead Goku to a large palace structure in the middle of the ocean. Thankfully, Goku's here and not Vegeta, otherwise this whole palace would have been destroyed. Anyways, Goku dispatched any leftover robots and continued toward the Emerald's location. Once he got to the site, he looked around and saw numerous Shadow androids appear as Eggman flew over Goku with his egg hog. As Goku began fighting the endless onslaught of Shadow androids, Eggman began to rain fire on him from above. Quickly, Goku transformed into Super Saiyan 2, hoping to end this fight early, but for every Shadow android he had taken down, 10 more took its place. After a while, Goku started to become overrun with androids and had to push himself to his absolute limits. On King Kai's planet, Sonic and Knuckles are watching everything go down and are getting anxious. They know Goku's starting to get tired and needs help, but no one's close by him. Sonic tells Knuckles they'll be right back and uses instant transmission to get to Goku. Goku was struggling, and when a Shadow android would go to take him down, Sonic would appear in front of him and block the punch before countering with a Sonic Wind Attack. When Goku would thank Sonic, he would revert back to base form. Sonic would notice this and realize that if he doesn't act fast, he and Goku will be done for. Sonic would tell Goku to go for where the Emerald is and that he has him covered. Here, Sonic would show off some of his new techniques, like his new Wild Rush, and follow it up into his Loop Kick. He did this with ease until he watched Goku use his strength to fly through the Egg Hog, holding the green Chaos Emerald and powering up to his Super Saiyan form. Sonic would get back-to-back with Goku as the duo assaulted and raised hell against the android, until they seemingly stopped showing up. Sonic would give a thumbs up to Goku and wink before using instant transmission to head back to Otherworld. Goku, likewise, would use instant transmission to lock onto Krillin and get back to Capsule Corp. In the deep jungle, Vegeta is flying over top the dense vegetation, throwing ki blasts at the ground hoping to clear it out. Though for some reason, every time he would make a dent or a crater, the vegetation would seemingly grow back. This has to be the Chaos Emerald doing this. The thought alone was enough to get on Vegeta's nerves. Once he managed to find a spot to land, he checked the radar and noticed the Emerald darting towards him. Knowing something was up, he transformed into Super Saiyan Grade 2 and waited, trying to sense what was coming toward him. Once the Emerald radar pinged that the Emerald was on top of him, Vegeta moved to narrowly avoid getting hit with the Gallic Gun? When he looked up, his eyes went wide in shock as he saw what looked to be himself. This other Vegeta smirked and flew up to Vegeta, raising its energy to match that of Super Saiyan. Vegeta saw this as a challenge and cracked his neck before starting to fight this look-alike. Both energies surged as the two Vegetas clashed with neither holding back. The look-alike would gut punch Vegeta and kick him into the water, thinking he had won. But that would go away as he was hit with a big bang attack from the water. Vegeta flew up before this thing had a chance to recover and began striking him everywhere on his body. Realizing where the Emerald was, he would ball his fist and punch it straight into the chest of his copy and yank it out. The Saiyan Emerald shone in the light and charged Vegeta with power. This felt great. Vegeta never had a chance to use the Emeralds before, seeing as he always witnessed it secondhand by everybody else. This fake Vegeta began gagging as the Saiyan Prince put his hands on his chest, and cracked a smirk before giving it the Dodorian treatment. Vegeta would shake his head at the poor display of imitating him, saying that he would figure a copy of him would be more durable, like how Metal Sonic is more durable than Sonic. He would fly up, then head back to the Capsule Corp. Once the Z-Fighters would get back to Capsule Corp, they're lost to what to do. They have seconds left and don't know where the last emerald is. That's when the countdown on the broadcast would reach 0, and the radar would pick up the last emerald location, which surprisingly wasn't that far. Trying their best to hurry in time, Krillin and Tien would fly toward the signal, only to spot a large fleet. Upon them getting closer, multiple cannons and missiles on each vessel would aim and fire at them, causing them to have to take caution while approaching. Once they managed to get on one of the battleships, they hear Eggman over a loudspeaker.
You fools must all have a death wish. Witness this invincible battleship built by the hands of a genius. Its power unmatched throughout the universe.
They would have to fight off numerous robots from Eggman, and right when they would seemingly start to get pushed back, a stray Ki Blast would assist Krillin. When he would check to see who shot it, he would see Android 18 arriving on the scene. He would be happy to see her, but question why she's here. 18 would comment that she had a favor called in and couldn't resist blowing a hole in the Doctor's plan. The three tore through all of the opposing forces, taking on ship after ship, robot after robot. Before long, they would manage to make their way to the final flagship. There they would encounter tougher and more resilient bots. Though, with the assistance of 18 and her never being able to run out of stamina, they would manage to push through. They would soon encounter Eggman and his new creation, the Egg Emperor. This has to be it. This has to be his ultimate weapon. Giving everything they've got, 18, Krillin, and Tien would easily put down the Egg Emperor. Though, just like with the others, the Eggman inside would be a fake. Taking the last Chaos Emerald and heading back to Capsule Corp, Krillin would tell everyone that they destroyed the ultimate weapon and that everything is fine. Right as he would say that, everyone would feel a surge of ki rising without stopping. Quickly, everyone flew to see what it was, and to their surprise, they saw what looked to be Eggman in a pod over the destroyed remains of his fleet. He began cackling and telling them that here would be their end. Vegeta, who wouldn't let Eggman finish his speech, fired a Ki Blast at Eggman, who seemingly would get hit. When the dust would clear, they would see what looked to be a robotic Sonic who took the hit. No, not Metal Sonic, something different. This form of metallic look-alike looked exactly like Sonic, but not robotic at all. It was then joined by a Shadow, Knuckles, Amy, and Silver. Eggman would laugh and tell everyone that these creations were all made thanks to Cell. Then, from the destroyed remains of his fleet, more Metal Sonics would fly out to begin fighting everyone, while the other Metals, who I will refer to as Chromes, stayed by Eggman to protect him. At first, everyone would struggle, but thankfully with the aid of the Chaos Emerald, they would start to pull through. Wave after wave of Metal Sonics would flood the area. Eggman would tell everyone that he has prepared for this moment. All of his machines and robots that each of the Z-Fighters faced were just throwaways, only to capture everyone's battle data. And now, every one of his machines know how to beat them. Once they are out of the way, he will finally be able to take over the world. Hearing this, everyone will begin pushing themselves to their limits. From Otherworld, Sonic and Knuckles are starting to become worried. They know that while their friends can take on the robots, they can't fight forever. It's just not possible, with the exception of 18. Knuckles insists that Sonic instant transmits them to join the fight, to which Sonic is hesitant. While he knows they have to do something, he is worried about him and Knuckles dying again while they still have their halos. As the Z-Fighters start to get tired, a few more fighters would join the battle, fashionably late. Other Shadow and Rouge would arrive with numerous gun soldiers at the ready. The soldiers might not be much, but anything is welcome. As Eggman's forces start to get pushed back, 17 arrives to join the fray. He states that while he would have rather stayed out of this and kept to his island, some of Eggman's robots attacked and disrupted it. So for now, this is him doing his job. Around this time, the real Metal Sonic and Neo Metal Sonic would show themselves and immediately go after Gohan, seeing how out of everyone, he's the biggest threat. Using the Emerald's power, Metal Sonic and Neo Metal Sonic would don their own super forms. As the fight is going on, the gang at Capsule Corp are trying to figure out what to do. With Sonic and Knuckles still in Underworld, they need an extra hand. And while Project Silver is nowhere near completion, they can't afford to just sit by and do nothing. Well, it just so happens Tails has just the thing. Wheeling in a Metal Sonic unit from the back, Tails would explain that while the Cell thing was going on, he had managed to get a hold of the first Metal Sonic unit Sonic and the others came in contact with. He would power on the Metal Sonic, and it would spring to life. When looking around, he would lock eyes with the four scientists. Tails would inform the Metal Sonic unit he called Shard that Shadow and the others are fighting Ivo Robotnik's forces and that he needs to hurry if he wanted to save them. Shard would look around some more before nodding to Tails. He would give a smirk and wave his finger like Sonic before flying off towards where the battle is taking place. Bulma would ask Tails if she's sure Shard can handle himself. Considering as he's the first Metal Sonic unit meant to beat Sonic and was beaten by the Z Fighters, would he even be able to stand a chance? Tails would assure Bulma that Shard can handle himself, seeing as Shard, while he was still Metal Sonic, never lost access to Ivo Robotnik's database. He's been getting updated with the current battle data that Ivo has of the Z Fighters. While Shard makes his way to the Z Fighters, they're starting to push back the army of Metal Sonic robots, prompting Eggman to send the Chromes in to fight, or at least back up Super Metal and Neo Metal. Chrome Shadow, Chrome Knuckles would go after Shadow, Vegeta, and Raditz, barely pushing them back. Chrome Amy would take on her counterpart alongside 17 and 18. Chrome Sonic and Chrome Silver would try to attack Goku, with Tien and Krillin jumping in to assist. Once Shard arrives, he would immediately fly for Eggman, with the Doctor looking in shock that another Metal Sonic unit that he doesn't even recognize is attempting to attack him. Shard, with the added directive of bringing Ivo Robotnik back alive, would attempt to bring down his pod without injuring him too much. Super Metal Sonic would notice this and fly to intercept Shard, kicking him to the ground to allow the Doctor to escape. Shard would have none of it and quickly fly back up to Super Metal Sonic and tries his best to keep him away while he slows or halts Eggman's escape. Back in Otherworld, King Kai is telling Sonic and Knuckles what's going on, and it's making them both even more anxious. While Knuckles is adamant that they should go back to help out the Z Fighters, Sonic, who initially was hesitant to head back while they're still dead, is leaning more to go help. In a split-second decision, Sonic grabs Knuckles and instant transmits in front of Eggman while he and Knuckles transform into their super forms. Eggman, panicking, pleads with them both not to kill him, to which they respond that they aren't going to kill him so long as he stops the Metal Sonics. Eggman tries to shut them down, but they aren't listening. Neither are the Chromes. Neo Metal Sonic would start to laugh as he flies away from Shard, telling him that the end has come. From the broken and discarded pieces of Eggman's fleet, various wires and pieces of metal went flying toward him. Super Metal Sonic would notice and flew toward his future counterpart. The Chromes as well backed off and flew toward Neo Metal, latching onto him. The Chromes formed a veil of liquid metal as Metal Sonic flew into the veil. Once the pieces and wires came together, in front of everyone would look to be a giant metal dragon. Okay, everyone can agree, this metallic mess is madness. Sonic would instant transmit Eggman to Capsule Corp, then instant transmit back to everybody else. Neo Metal would state that once he kills the Z Fighters, he will create the perfect metallic utopia, and recreate them in his perfect image. The Z Fighters are not having this at all. Shard would start shooting straight ki blasts to get Neo Metal's attention, with 17 and 18 coming in to help. Goku and Raditz would charge in to try punching and kicking at him, but they weren't making a dent. Neo Metal would mock them, stating that his design is flawless, and that they shouldn't fight against his goals. Vegeta would laugh at him before charging his energy and readying a Gallic gun. Neo Metal would allow himself to be blasted with it. Once the smoke cleared, everyone would hear the sound of Neo Metal yelling in pain as part of his body was missing entirely. Vegeta would laugh even harder, stating that this perfect machine would end up just like Cell, except this time, he would be the one to put this machine in the dirt, not Kakarot's brat. Neo Metal would glare at Vegeta before the missing chunk of his body leaked liquid metal and began reforming into what it once was. Neo Metal would fly high into the air and yell Chaos Control, causing time to freeze. While everyone is held in place, Neo Metal would fly at Vegeta and grab him, then begin crushing him in his grasp, with the prince seemingly unable to stop him. Once time resumes, Vegeta would try to break free but to no avail. Shadow would take off his inhibitor rings and charge his energy before flying as fast as he could toward the arm clutching Vegeta. In a flash, he broke through the hand and grabbed the weakened prince, getting him to safety and giving him a ring. Amy and Gohan would attempt to turn into their hyper forms, but it's not working. They can feel a faint connection to that power, but they can't seem to tap into it. While the other Z Fighters fought Metal, Sonic would ask Knuckles how come Amy and Gohan aren't able to use those forms they showed off against Cell. Knuckles would think carefully, then realize that they need the Master Emerald. He explains that when he trained with Gohan, he had him meditate with the emeralds, which allowed him to tap into the emerald more efficiently than everybody else. The Master Emerald has the power to lift all inhibitions off the Chaos Emerald. If they can use the Master Emerald, Gohan and Amy will be able to turn into their hyper forms. Sonic, though, has a better idea. He tells everyone to hold off Metal Sonic while he and Knuckles get more power. Sonic begins to focus on sensing the Master Emerald's power until he can finally lock onto it. He then instant transmits himself and Knuckles to the secret lab and approaches the Master Emerald. He tells Knuckles that while they're dead, they never felt the strain of the Kaioken like Amy did when she's alive. Meaning, if they can turn into their own hyper forms and stack the Kaioken multiplier on top of it, they should have enough strength to take on Neo Metal. Knuckles calls it a gamble, but at this point they're running out of both time and options. Knuckles communicates with the Master Emerald, telling it to give him and Sonic power. Within a matter of seconds, both boys started to feel the power of chaos entering their bodies as they began charging up as much energy as they could take. Sonic began turning into a silverish white color before flashing multiple colors as Knuckles began turning into a brighter magenta, then following up the same like Sonic. Knuckles asked what multiplier they should use, with Sonic responding that while they shouldn't test the limits of how much they can push their souls, they can't afford to go in too weak. So for now, go in with a 20 times multiplier. And with that, they instant transmit back to the others. Before Sonic and Knuckles came back, everyone felt their power surge. It was the same with how Gohan and Amy were when they beat Cell. The boys appeared before Neo Metal and used a 20-time multiplier in front of everyone. Neo Metal would try to increase his own power, but to no avail. He would question how come he can't use the same Chaos Energy as the Hyper form. Hyper Knuckles would comment that even though he has their data copy, he doesn't have their link and years of training with Chaos Energy copied. He is nothing more than a pretender trying to play God. Neo Metal would yell and take a swing at them both, with Hypersonic holding up a hand and stopping the swing. Neo Metal would then take another swing, this time aimed for Hyper Knuckles, who swung his fist back, blowing Neo Metal's arm off. Panicking, the giant robot would use Chaos Control to freeze time. He would let out a laugh thinking he has them under control, until he saw Hypersonic move while in stop time and snap his fingers, breaking through the Chaos Control. Hypersonic would then fist bump Knuckles as they both flew at their adversary. Hyper Knuckles would deliver blow after blow to Neo Metal's lower half, trying to open him up as best as he could. Sonic would hang back and began spin dashing in place. Raditz knew what this was. This was the same trick Kakarot and Sonic tried on him when he first came to Earth. He chuckled to himself, knowing that this hunk of metal and machinery was about to feel the pain, if it could even feel pain. While spin dashing, Sonic told everyone to lend him power, to which all but Vegeta began lending him energy. Sonic stopped spinning and got ready as he told Knuckles to move. Knuckles nodded, then appeared behind Neo Metal Sonic. He winded up his fist and punched Neo Metal as hard as he could, launching him into where Sonic was. Sonic waited until Neo Metal was close enough and began to punch and kick him everywhere. Bits and pieces rained from the giant robot until all that remained was just a veil of liquid metal. Sonic started charging up a Kamehameha, but Shard stopped him and told him that he can handle it from here. The system that connected all of the robots and chromes can be tapped into if he has a chance to. He can't explain it, but he feels like he can maybe do something. Shard looked at the veil of metal and flew in. Sonic kept his beam charged just in case, but soon the liquid metal seemingly started to dissipate, until there was only one robot there. Sonic raised an eyebrow, ready to fire, but the robot put his hands up, telling Sonic not to do it and that he's friendly. Sonic would question the robot, to which he would tell Sonic that he's 3 Metal Sonics in one. Sonic would ask that wouldn't this make him evil? The robot would reply that while Sonic has a point, he doesn't feel evil. Whatever Shard did while in that veil of liquid metal seemed to have a bigger influence than he thought. He can feel the 3 Metal Sonics deep down, and yet still he doesn't understand what's going on. Sonic, Knuckles, and his new Metal Sonic would lower to the ground, with everyone seemingly on high alert. Sonic explains and says that they should get this one checked out at Capsule Corp, just to make sure he isn't lying. Everyone, save for Gun and 17, would head back to Capsule Corp. There they would see Eggman getting torn into by Gerald, metaphorically speaking. The geniuses would notice the new robot, with Tails asking where Shard is. Sonic would point at the robot. Eggman would also ask what happened to Neo Metal Sonic, to which Knuckles would point to the new robot. When asked about the base Metal Sonic unit, the new robot would raise his hand. They all would look at each other, then Sonic would explain all that happened after he beat Neo Metal's dragon form. Tails would grab his data pad, while Gerald would have the new robot sit on a table while they analyzed him. The readings would provide varying results, but everyone present can confirm that this new robot isn't evil, and while they aren't sure what Shard did, somehow it's affecting how this new unit is behaving. With that, Sonic and Knuckles returned to their base forms and bid everyone a farewell before preparing to instant transmit back to Otherworld. Just before they go, Amy would give Sonic a tearful hug, bidding him farewell. Sonic would smile and wave to everyone as he and Knuckles teleported away. First, though, to return the Master Emerald back to its proper place at the Master Emerald Shrine, then back to King Kai's planet. This is where I'll be leaving this part off here. Tell me what you guys think in the comments. Believe me when I tell you, the fact that it took me an entire, almost like
a month and a half, almost 2 months to make this whole script, especially for the fact that I had to take a lot of things out, add a lot of things in, rewrite when certain things happened. Like, I had this whole part ending an entirely separate way, but then realized I had to scrap it because I got like one thing wrong, so I had to go back and retype a lot of it. This was a 14-page script that I had to go off of, and recording it was no easy feat either. Oh my god, I got so tongue-tied, and I was almost tempted on leaving them in for bloopers at the end of this, but like that could just be a whole video on its own. So, like I said, tell me what you guys think. Did I get anything wrong? Did I fuck anything up? Or did I actually get everything right? I mean, I would hope I got everything right, seeing as how many times I had to rewrite and toss out a lot of the parts of the script, but I digress. Yeah, no, I can't wait to get started on the next one, even though I know it's going to make me want to actually jump off of a fucking cliff. But, again, tell me what you guys think. As always, I'm HyperShadow46. Keep a lookout for the 7 Chaos. And with Chaos, control that like button, subscribe today to join the Chaos Army, and I'll see you guys when I see you guys. Take care.